Mabuhay, Kamustika. Welcome, how are you? This is Bob from Love Beyond the Sea, coming to you today from the Philippines. This is where I met my wife several years ago. So I have a channel called Love Beyond the Sea. It's pro-marriage, pro-Filipina. I found my wife, a Filipina who I had always heard made great wives. And so, I want to help people get married, whether it's just encourage people to get married. If you have to go overseas, I would certainly rank the Philippines as a great place to find a wife. And by the way, please subscribe to this channel if you're interested in a relationship with a Filipina. And I just have to be matter of fact and say this channel is about men who are serious about a Filipina. And to me, that comes down to commitment, which comes down to marrying them. But before you do, it's natural to have some suspicion creep into your mind. So this is called suspicion. Don't let doubt creep in. Just some situations that I will admit went through my mind when I was going through this process. So I thought I would make a video about this for you. So it seems that either a man has a great relationship with a Filipina or a terrible one. Some will tell you that you should be suspicious of all Filipinas, but let's not get carried away. I have similar thoughts now that I think about it on the three-part video series called something like, I've changed it a few times, I think it's called now, Are All Filipinas Scammers and More Stinking Thinking? And that may help you go through some thoughts, get some balance on some of the things you might read about in regard to Filipinas and foreigners. So I would encourage you to check out those videos if you're interested. Now, I consider marrying a younger, beautiful Filipina an amazing opportunity, and it may seem too good to be true. Once you're into your pursuit of a Filipina and things are clicking with someone, but eventually some doubt may creep in, like the ones I will list here, and here is how I deal with each one. Facebook, or social media, particularly Facebook. Get ready for this one. I think Filipinos spend a lot of time on social media, especially Facebook. Apparently the Philippines is the Facebook capital of the world. It's a way to keep up with their family and friends and news across the sea. And she likely has been using it for quite a while, and this might increase after she leaves the Philippines to be with you. Now, I don't blame my wife for using it extensively, but there are times early on when I thought she defaulted to it a little quickly. Right now I need to check and see if I have enough time to get this done. My main point is that this may be a normal activity for her, and she might not think anything of it, but it bothered me initially. And I don't want to alienate her or irritate her about it. I just have to be considerate and understand what she's just done, moved away from everywhere. And she's going to still want to, not sever the tie completely. She's going to still want to communicate with her family, probably more powerfully than ever before. This did not mean that she was disinterested in me or less interested in me now that we were married, or that she was having trouble settling in here. Nothing to worry about, but your lady might spend several hours a day on it. And if that comes as a shock to you, I'm just warning you now, just let her have her time, be patient, and she will appreciate that. Another one, wanting a child as soon as possible. This is certainly a normal desire of a woman, especially in the Philippines where family is still a big deal. My wife is now 29. Am I supposed to expect her to lose the natural desire to have a child once she's here in America? Does having me as her husband make her feel that having a child is now unnecessary? No, I have to remind myself that this is just normal for a woman, and I'm glad she wants to have a baby. It does not mean that she intends to have a baby and then split. Why would I feel that way? Because of the horror stories that I've heard. And this is something to be clear about before you marry a Filipina. Does she want to have a child? About 100% chance that the answer is yes. Another one, getting serious about a relationship quickly. It could be tempting to ask yourself why a Filipina would be willing to pack up and leave everyone and everything she's ever known in her whole life in a short time, like in our case, 2 months, to be my wife. My wife accepted my proposal on day 18, that's all. If you were in the Philippines dating someone, she might want you to ask her to marry you after just a few days. It's not a big deal there, so it shouldn't be a surprise if she would accept my offer to marry her and come overseas relatively quickly. It's just part of the culture. I could say, well, isn't this going too well? This is going pretty easily. Well, nothing evil is going on here. That's just, a Filipina will, if she thinks you're a nice guy and she can trust you, she's willing to make that decision sooner rather than later. So I think it's best to just accept that she wants to get married badly for love and security, and in her culture, relocating to another country is no big deal. It's actually a desired thing. Foreigners are highly coveted to marry, and often they're thought of as being more faithful. This matters because there's a lot of cheating in the Philippines, and in my opinion, not being able to divorce with so much cheating going on, so much unfaithfulness, only breeds more unfaithfulness. The Filipina wants real commitment. If she thinks you can provide that to her, she will likely marry you quickly. I do believe that divorce is permissible on certain things. I think the Bible talks about that. One of them would be adultery, and what happens is if you can't divorce for adultery, people just continue to cheat on each other. They find mistresses, and that's just more. It's just a disastrous situation when somebody has broken the relationship with their unfaithfulness and they leave the poor woman stranded, and that's just not right. And biblically, I think she has the right to move on. Not my opinion. I just think that's what the Bible teaches. How about this one? She wants out of poverty and wants the status of being in America, for example. So that's why she's marrying you. It's not because she cares about you or me. She just wants to escape the poverty and the status of being in America. And she probably has family members and friends who have done this, left the Philippines and married a foreigner. In fact, my wife does. And or knows someone who's married a foreign man and is living a better situation there materially. She isn't doing anything unusual. I remind myself that she's leaving everything, and to be honest with you, I could not do that. I respect her decision to come here tremendously. It's quite possible your Filipina is content and happy in the Philippines, but going to a foreign country offers her what she sees as a better life, and I think it's hard to fault her for that. And this one asks for money before marriage or after. Here you'll just have to use discernment about the validity of her request. It's not unreasonable for her to ask for money from you once you have established something in terms of your relationship. It doesn't mean that she is digging. If she asks the first day or so, that would be a big red flag, of course. You'll just have to think it through and know her circumstances if you're able. My wife did not ask for money during the short time it took to get engaged, and only asked me for reasonable items like clothes and an allowance after we began our wedding plans. She stopped her job so she could begin working on certain things for our wedding and immigration and a lot of paperwork to gather and so on, so she didn't have time to work. And I didn't want her to work when there were so many plans to be made, like various visa requirements and so on, honeymoon plans too. So I wanted to continue to get to know her, so it was only beneficial for me to send her some money in that case. And we were engaged, so at that point you're engaged, should be certainly all right to ask to send money, even though it happened so quickly. We were engaged. And just an aside, if we had a disagreement or argue about something, it was over her refusal to accept monetary help from me. Even when I told her, hon, we're about to get married, or we are married now. And I need to treat her like my future wife and start taking care of her. But I think she wanted to prove to me that she could take care of herself. And like she said, as long as I have enough to eat for the day, I'm fine. It's getting a little darker here, so you might not be able to see me very good. Maybe that's a good thing. So anyway, a good Filipina is uncomfortable asking money from someone, so if she feels she needs to do it, it isn't easy to do. What if she doesn't ask for money? If she's not asking for money, you could tell yourself that maybe she doesn't plan on staying here long with me, or maybe she's just pretending. So, as with other things I list here, it's just easy to constantly second guess yourself. How about everyone might be in on it? I've read a scenario where family is in on it, the whole family. They sets it up so it looks like she loves you, and then and it's legitimate. Then you show up at the airport, and she's not there. You never see her again. One of the reasons I thought my wife was truly serious was because she allowed me to see her parents and siblings on Skype, and asked her father for her daughter's hand in marriage, and the entire family was right there watching on Skype. And what if she wants to work here? You could speculate she only wants to work here so she can gain some independence, then leave you. This has to be tempered by the fact that the daughters are often the main breadwinners in the Philippines and are reliable, hard workers. This is the case of my wife. She's a teacher in the Philippines. She wanted to work in America and work with me in the company I'm in. And now she is working in America for, a year and a half or so. She's got good work skills, and if she wants to work in your country, I don't believe that's any cause for concern. She wants to earn money, and she wants to help her family back home. What if she doesn't talk as much as we did while dating online or in the Philippines? Now, this won't bother every man like it did me, and I'm probably being unrealistic, but we chatted a lot before we married, and I missed that. And once we were married, I kind of wanted to keep chatting a lot, and she kept saying, well, no, we're already committed. We don't have to talk 4 hours a day. And it didn't have to be 4 hours a day, but I certainly wanted to keep talking to her more. That's okay. It just didn't mean anything other than to her. The chase was over. We were married. We could tone it down a bit. Okay, that's fine. It's worked out okay. Lack of public display of affection. My wife's feelings are the same as many other Filipinas. They believe public displays of affection are indecent. I've talked to my wife a lot about my need for desire anyway of touching her, hugging her, kissing her, even in public, and this is an area we need to compromise on. I respect her feelings about PDA. Part of that is cultural. Since she is working at the same place as I am, we have agreed not to show that I am not to show her public display of affection, but she can to me while at work. So, I can't show her PDA, but she is allowed to show me when she feels like it. Fair enough. Same way at church. So the good thing is that when we're at my mother's house or when we're over here at her family's house, she does allow me to, hold her and kiss her and so on. This must be the exception. The good part is that when you are married and alone, nothing is off limits. What if she wants to learn how to drive? Aha, see, she only wants her independence to prepare for when she leaves me. That's why she wants to drive and work. Then she won't need me. But you'll just have to trust that while in the Philippines, you just step outside and get a ride. Jeepney or scooter. Here, you pretty much need to provide your own transportation. If she's going to work, almost has to learn how to drive. So do I really want to die someday and never having taught her how to drive? A woman being able to drive is not all that common in the Philippines. So I think it's a good idea to teach your wife how to drive. Last one here, she wants to marry you, a foreigner. You may be the next in the long line of happy marriages to a woman who has traditional family values, will keep a neat house, be frugal, and provide the kind of love most men only dream about. The nature of the relationship will make for more unknowns than usual. The very long distance makes side-by-side contact impossible unless you visit her. So it's important to ask good questions. If it's important to you, ask it, talk about it, pray with her, and do all you can to be able to trust her. My wife and I are still learning about each other and learning to trust each other after 3 years now of marriage. Trust, like respect, needs to be earned. So I hope this video helps you to deal with some suspicions that may creep in when you are with your love beyond the sea.